Welcome to the service elevator. In this series of videos we'll be visiting some of my old and new theme park concept ideas for Disney and Universal parks. I'm not in any way connected with Disney or Universal Studios. In this episode I want to talk to you about Toy Story Land. There's a lot of great concept and construction artwork going around, but I can't help but feel that it's missing a family dark ride e-ticket attraction, and that took me back to 1997, where I actually designed and submitted to Disney an idea for Toy Story The Adventure. The legendary Imagineer Marty Sklar was kind enough to write back to me and say why Disney was unable to accept any external ideas for attractions. So here it is. Sit back, fasten your seatbelts and enjoy Toy Story The Adventure. Toy Story The Adventure throws guests right into the heart of the action of an evacuation from a neighbour's house. The evacuation should be straightforward. Board the remote control car, which will then transport the guests to their safety outside the house. Nothing could go wrong, or could it? The entrance queue area would resemble a giant toy box. Guests would meander through the narrow alleys, able to interact with some of the toys. You would see things like an oversized computer battleships, which pegs can be pushed into, allowing guests to hear hit, miss, or you sunk my battleship. A magic 8-ball could be there, and you could actually shake it to give messages like the one in the film, taking the thought and times out of standing in line. The ride vehicle would be the remote control car from the Toy Story film. The movement and steering of the vehicle would be powered by the same technology that, say, is used in the Indiana Jones ride in California or the dinosaur ride Animal Kingdom. The large rubber knobbly wheels are just for show, but the car would actually be controlled underneath. The car would hold roughly 9 passengers seated in 3 rows of 3. Guests would be held in with a lap bar or seatbelt. The driver, which is the Toy Story soldier, would be an audio animatronic, whose movements would be determined by the location of the car on the ride, giving the impression he's driving the car and also looking over his shoulder, talking to guests at the most inopportune moments. Sensors would then relay information from the bottom of the car to the computer controlling the driver. The sensors would also control the sound system, providing radio-controlled car sounds and other sounds and music. Lights on the car would actually work, and they'd come on at certain points in the adventure. Smoke would come out the back of the car, and the whip area would be really flexible to allow movement. The driver would have a range of vocabulary which can be random, although personalised comments can be made at unsuspecting guests which are overridden by somebody working remotely. This would allow the ride experience to be different every time. When given the all clear, the car will pull away from the loading bay and meander erratically along the route. Boxes of toys lie either side of the track, and the driver would look over his shoulder and interact with the guests. After we've rounded the corner, the car will pull up alongside a giant Woody, Slinky Dog, Pig and Etch-a-Sketch. The driver would turn his head to face Woody, and there would be an interaction between them. The walkie-talkie would crackle and voices could be heard. The sergeant would then respond, talking about how they're going to evacuate you from the house. The Etch-a-Sketch would draw one of a selection of images. These would be different every time. The engine would rev, smoke would come out the back, and the car would pull away. Our inexperienced soldier driver gets distracted by all the things going on and nearly crashes into one of Bo Peep's sheep, who's in the middle of the track. The car swerves to the left, missing the sheep and just stopping before the game box is in front. The driver looks over. Where's reverse? Where it is? Reverse. Oh, here it is. And then the car begins to accelerate backwards. The car is now travelling backwards with the driver looking over his shoulder. Whoa! Brake, brake, brake! The car bumps into a large glass of water. The glass tips back and a small amount of water shoots from the cup onto the guests. Driver, sorry, I've nearly got the hang of this thing now. The driver looks forwards again and the car accelerates off to the right under the building block bridge. The car passes under a bridge and several blocks rock precariously. Once the car is passed under the bridge, a large crash can be heard coming from behind. The car comes to a halt. A soldier stands at the side of the car with the other walkie-talkie. In front is a ramp made from pencils, and the rail either side is formed by a barrel of monkeys. The ramp's been completed. Are you ready to go? Our driver says, okay, let's go. The car moves off down the ramp. Soldier, wait. It's not quite finished. The car moves down the ramp, past the monkeys making ooh, 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 monkey sounds. The car completes the first bit of the bridge, then sets off down the second part of the ramp, which is a lot darker. I need lights, says the driver. The car lights come on, and another sheep is standing in the middle of the ramp. Driver, ah! The car swerves to the left narrow, avoiding the sheep. Monkeys are interlocked directly in front. They then move to the left and the right to allow the car to pass. Clear of the monkey, the car travels along. The driver looks over his shoulder. Phew, that was close. Sorry about the detour. We're behind time, but fortunately, I know a shortcut. The car travels towards a large, sleeping dog, snoring loudly and blocking the doorway directly in front. The driver's still looking at the guests, who at this stage might be shouting. I knew I'd get the hang of this thing in the end. It's really quite... What? Wait, what? At the last moment, the driver looks forward and sees the dog. The car turns sharply to the left, tipping up slightly. Guests can feel the wind from the dog's breath and the sound of the sleeping, snoring dog. Driver, ah! As the car passes, the dog's eyes open. Guests can now hear barking coming from behind them. The car travels along the side of a wall with brightly coloured wallpaper and white skirting board. The car slows down almost to a standstill as it comes to the end of the wall. Quiet, everyone. We don't want the dog to know where we are, says the driver. As the car reaches the end of the skirting board, Rex jumps out and roars, "Rah! Did I scare you? Did I?" The car swerves to the left, tilting slightly. The car travels towards and around Mr. Potato Head, who's standing on a turning platform, waving his arms and saying one of a selection of responses. Straight in front of us now is the door and hopefully safety. Two soldiers holding pencils either side push them to open the dog flap just in time for the car to go through. The car now drives down a narrow lane with bushes either side and the night sky and stars visible overhead. There's a planty odour in the air. The car heads off to the right, which turns out to be a dead end. Oh no, a dead end, says the driver. Our driver then reverses the car back to the junction and then he takes the left lane. The car goes round the bend to the left and there in front is a spaceship with lights flashing and an opening directly in front. I can't stop, says the driver. The car goes up a small ramp and into the spaceship. The car stops inside the spaceship. Green aliens stand either side, almost surrounding the car. Oh, the chosen ones. The aliens move closer. The driver says, "Get away from us!" The aliens are still moving closer and raising their arms directly in front of them. There's a crash, a bang, and a lot of smoke, and then a voice can be heard. "Buzz Lightyear to the rescue!" Oh, said the aliens. As the smoke starts to clear, a large section of the spaceship has been pulled away. The car moves forward and out of the hole that has been created. Buzz can be seen on the left, holding a piece of the spaceship and pointing the way out. His spaceship leans against the wall behind him. To infinity and beyond! The car then accelerates forwards and into the mist ahead, and finally into the loading bay. I'd also put together a sketch of what the actual ride building layout would look like all the way from the start to the end of the ride. It doesn't feature things like sort of loading queues, stairs, different heights, or maintenance areas or things, but it just serves a purpose to give an idea of the layout of the track. I'll just leave you to enjoy that. So, I hope you'd enjoyed my Toy Story The Adventure Ride concept from the dark, distant 1997. And hopefully see you again. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.